Okay, imagine this. What if someone, like over 2,000 years ago, wrote the instruction manual for the human mind? A guide for how to think clearly and live a really, really good life. Well, it sounds kind of crazy, but someone actually did, and we're about to dive into his incredible ideas.
I mean, it's the biggest question there is, isn't it? It's something we all think about. How do we not just get by? How do we actually flourish and live a life that feels fulfilling?
Well, for centuries, whenever people have gotten serious about answering that exact question, they've turned to one person, not for some, mystical secret, but for a super practical, down-to-earth guidebook. And that person's name was Aristotle.
So let's talk about the architect of your brain. And that's because Aristotle wasn't just some dusty old philosopher. Nope. In a lot of ways, he was the architect of the very way we think. He's the one who basically drew up the blueprints for how to think logically.
Seriously, just think of the smartest person you can imagine, and then multiply that by, 10. Aristotle was an expert in pretty much everything. I'm talking biology, politics, drama, physics, ethics, logic, you name it. He was a true master of all subjects.
Okay, so from student to superstar, where did this absolute genius even come from? Let's take a quick look at his life story. It's a journey from being a student himself to becoming a legit intellectual superstar.
All right, so his life was pretty extraordinary. He was born way back in 384 BCE. When he was a young man, he packed his bags for Athens and spent 2 decades learning directly from the great philosopher Plato. Then his career takes this wild turn. He gets hired to be the personal tutor for a young prince, a prince who, you might have heard of him, would grow up to be Alexander the Great. No big deal, right? After literally shaping one of history's greatest conquerors, he goes back to Athens and starts his own school, the Lyceum. And this place, it became a total powerhouse of knowledge for centuries.
And his teaching style was so unique. He didn't just stand at a podium and lecture. Instead, Aristotle and his students would walk around the school's gardens, talking philosophy. This whole method got a name, the peripatetic method, which literally just means walking about. Can you imagine that? Learning these deep, profound truths just by taking a morning stroll? So cool.
All right, section 3, the secret to a happy life. So let's get back to that big, huge question from the beginning. According to Aristotle, how do we find happiness? Because this right here is the absolute core of his entire philosophy.
Okay, to really get Aristotle's genius, you first have to understand how he kind of broke away from his teacher, Plato. See, Plato thought that true reality was in this perfect, unseen world of forms, this abstract place we couldn't actually see. But Aristotle, he brought philosophy right back down to earth. He was like, no, the truth is right here, in front of us. He believed that by carefully observing and analyzing the real world, we could figure out its secrets. And this shift, from the abstract to the concrete, man, it changed everything.
So for Aristotle, the ultimate goal in life wasn't just happiness, like feeling good for a moment. He was chasing something much, much deeper. It's a concept he called eudaimonia. It's a bit of a mouthful, right? Eudaimonia. Just think of it as human flourishing. It's that feeling of living at your absolute best, of using your unique human ability to think and reason, to live a life full of meaning and purpose.
So, how do we get to this state of flourishing? Well, Aristotle's answer is incredibly practical. It all comes down to habits. He famously said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. Let that sink in. What he's saying is that becoming a good person, a flourishing person, isn't about some single grand gesture. Nope, it's all about the small, consistent, good choices you make every single day.
And the key to building those good habits? He called it the golden mean. His idea was that every virtue, every single good quality, is the perfect middle point, the perfect balance between two extremes. It's not about having way too much or way too little of something. It's about finding that sweet spot that's just right.
Let's use courage as an example, because it's a great one. On one end of the spectrum, you've got cowardice. That's having too little courage. On the complete opposite end, you have recklessness. That's way too much. But for Aristotle, true courage is that golden mean, that perfect balance sitting right in the middle. Not too scared, not too reckless. Just right.
Okay, section 4, a toolkit for thinking. Now, living a good life isn't just about good habits, right? It also requires clear thinking. And this is where Aristotle gave us another incredible gift, a powerful toolkit for the mind. I mean, he basically invented the entire field of logic.
He called his system the syllogism.
The best way to think about it is like a simple 3-step recipe for making a logical argument. It's a way to connect ideas together so that your conclusion is pretty much guaranteed to be true, as long as your first 2 statements are true.
Here's a fun example to show you how it works. Step 1, the big general statement. All pizza is delicious. Okay? Step 2, a more specific statement. This thing right here is a pizza. So, step 3, the logical conclusion. Therefore, this thing is delicious. See how that works? If steps 1 and 2 are true, then step 3 has to be true. That's the power of the logic he gave us.
He also gave us this fantastic tool for understanding, well, literally anything. It's called the 4 causes. To fully know something, like, say, a wooden table, you just have to ask 4 questions. First, the material cause. What's it made of? Easy, wood. Second, the formal cause. What's its form or design? Think of the blueprint. Third, the efficient cause. Who or what made it? A carpenter. And finally, the final cause. What's its purpose? To eat on. You can use these 4 questions to analyze anything in the world. It's amazing.
So, Section 5, why Aristotle still matters. I mean, after more than 2,000 years, why are we still talking about this guy? Well, it's because his ideas didn't just influence history, they literally created the foundation for so much of our world today.
Let's just run through his legacy. His system of logic? It was the standard for 2 millennia. 2! He basically invented the fields of biology and political science. His writings were so profound, they became central to major world religions like Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. He's the one who taught us that humans are political animals, meaning we're social creatures who need a community to truly thrive. And even today, we are still debating and building on his ideas about ethics and politics. His impact is just immense.
So if you take just one thing away from all of this, let it be this. Aristotle wasn't about some pie-in-the-sky ideas you can't use. Not at all. He was all about giving us real, practical tools. Tools to help us think more clearly, and tools to help us live a better, more fulfilling life.
And that brings us right back to you. If Aristotle was right, if excellence really is a habit and not just a single act, what's one small, positive habit you could start today? What's one thing you could do to start working towards your own version of eudaimonia, of flourishing? What's your first step?